MATHMECH and RIKKA, the two rogue strategies that continue to populate these regional top 8, shaking up the norm of what people are expecting. Alright, to the 30% of you that have not smashed the ever-living crap out of that subscribe button, smash it so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. So what is our breakdown for this event? Well, this is kind of a very nice spread, a lot different than what we're really used to seeing here. The most dominant deck in this top cut is actually going to be SWORDSOUL, which is actually kind of a nice little change here, actually. SWORDSOUL for quite some time has been kind of running it back here. I know a lot of players do kind of look around and they're like, you know, is SWORDSOUL gaining a lot of popularity? Depends on the region, honestly. It's the thing I like about regionals is you can tell looking from different region to region where these decks are going to have different success and where these players are going to find those big W's. Now, winning the event was actually MATHMECH. MATHMECH ran it through the entire region here, securing a first place finish here. And I do talk about MATHMECH a lot, you know, saying that this deck's got some very scary matchups, and it really does. All right, like, if you don't have a Bysteel, which have pretty much gone dormant at this point, then you'll see the OTK power of MATHMECH actually come through. We actually had Naturia RUNICK here getting second place as well, which I'm also kind of surprised about that. But once again, I mean, a lot of decks can't play around a Naturia Beast. It's just kind of the sad part of things. I mean, KASHTIRA can, but if you're backing it up with, like, the power of the RUNICK cards, you know, the ability to pop whatever they're trying to do, you'll be able to control the matchup pretty easily. We also had a KASHTIRA deck. Haha, yes, the evil power of the tier 1 deck in the room doing its thing. Good stuff. We also had one SPRIGHT deck, but this SPRIGHT deck was actually the RUNICK build, which is actually kind of interesting. I'm happy to see some sort of variation to that. And then we also had a DESPIA deck as well. And then, of course, bringing up the rear here is actually RIKKA SUNAVALON. So you are going to get the chance to kind of see the combination of things and how plans are working for this event. Let's pass on over this top deck list. Winning the event here, like I said, was MATHMECH. Now, the thing that's most interesting to me about all these MATHMECH lists is they feel pretty much the same. Now, this build is on the one equation, the one superfactorial. That has been pretty much a norm at this point. All right, a lot of players do need to understand that, you know, as much as you want to see differences in formations of these deck lists, main decking induction, I feel like, is about as spicy as it gets for this event. And this deck actually finished 6-1 here. Something a little bit more unique, we actually have the track record here on the side to see how this duelist actually managed to pull it together. So overall, I'm not surprised. A lot of people forgot how to play around MATHMECH, and that's one of the big things that, you know, is honestly giving this deck the chance to shine. Obviously, you know, Circular, able to climb up through pretty much your entire Exceed package, is going to win you a lot more free games than I think people really really don't know how to factor for. So I'm glad to see that, at least on the budget side of things, this deck is doing well here. Second place was our Naturia good stuff. So we're playing 3 Mole Cricket with the 3 Camellia and then the 1 copy of the Little Sunflower. Now, all of that just essentially means that you'll be setting up your Naturia negates. You'll be laughing at your opponent, and then, of course, you can make Beast or Barkion, depending on the situation in the build that you need to do in order to, you know, detour your opponent. We are also playing, I love the fact there's double Exciton Knight in the extra deck. Oh, man. The fact that you get so many really cool tech slots in this deck is another reason why I really like this. And of course, we're main deck in Triple Ash, Triple Nibiru. One of the big things with actually seeing the Nibiru in this build is sometimes KASHTIRA can be very scary, especially when they go to start zone locking. And while it can be a dead card after past, you know, turn 2, that doesn't really matter. Your whole purpose is you want to make sure that you can take care of the threats before they start getting too big for this deck to be able to do its thing, because, you know, control needs that aspect. Next up here is going to be our first SWORDSOUL list. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of these SWORDSOUL lists, they're very, very, very similar to effectively, what, 3 formats ago when we were coming out of national season last year. Not much has really changed with these. I guess the spiciest thing here is we are playing 1 copy of the Monster Reborn spell card for the worm monsters. And then to top things off here, I see that we are also packing in the triple copies of, what is that, Cycle, which is okay. Let's see here. Triple Ecclesia, okay. The 10E package looks normal here. extra deck looks normal, and then we're citing the Book of Eclipses. I've noticed a lot of these builds have gone to citing the Book of Eclipses, and I think it's just mainly because right now where they're looking at the format, there's not really much of a reason that they want to pressure down on all of the power. So it makes sense as to why we're seeing these ratios. Next up here is going to be Cash Money Dollar Bills, the deck, sporting off 2 copies of Lava Golem. Now, of course, the big thing with Lava Golem is, you know, making sure that you can control your opponent and not have to worry about anything that they might be putting up here on the field. This build is also sporting off the Crossout Designators, which we've talked about Crossout kind of returning in a force with this deck because you need to be able to cross out any threat that your opponent can do. And let me tell you, having your opponent be able to detour you feels really bad. That's kind of the thing that very much interests me about this deck is just how good your matchups overall can be and how much you can get blown out in other matchups. But this deck has maintained a very strong, you know, presence in the metagame for its card pool. And once again, you can have really good cards, but if you can't set up negates or, you know, do your deck strategy, so many people are just going to be like, oh, you know, what am I supposed to do? Yikes. Next up is our next Sword Soul list here. So once again, we're playing triple Book of Eclipse in the main deck. Yeah. Once again, I mean, you're either main decking some sort of book or you're siding maining them. You need to be able to break those KASHTIRA boards because it's not too fun out here. We're also main decking the triple Nibiru, which is fine. Double tie in the main deck. We're not playing the Monster Reborn spell, but we are packing in the double talents. And interestingly enough, we are citing in triple copies of Crossout Designators. So this deck's kind of aiming to do the same thing that our dear friends are, where you're trying to detour your opponent and take advantage of any sort of situation that they might try to throw at you. Because getting hand trapped is the absolute worst. Especially like when you go to set up the Nibiru on the 5th summon, and then you're just like, oh yeah, I can't make the Baron yet, and then they're like, oh, Space Rock, and you're like, pick up my cards and cry the saddest song that you can, because that's the Sword Soul experience. Next up here is our Sprite Runic deck. Now we are main decking triple Lava Golem. Yep. Unfortunately, that's kind of the situation. Like I said earlier, you know, the fact that these decks kind of end up in the situation that they are, that you are kind of forced to play these worse cards in order to be able to play the game, is the thing. But I mean, this deck has a very consistent track record like Naturia, where it'll just be able to kind of start snowballing advantage, and then your opponent's not really going to know what to do here. So that's actually pretty good. We're on main decking 1 Nipria, 1 Capsha. We are playing the Scissors in here as well, and then we're main decking triple evenly matched. So if we find ourselves in a situation where we're not optimally going first, we can kind of go ahead and break our opponent's board and then capitalize and then start what our deck does, snowballing advantage, because, well, that's the Sprite experience. Oh boy, next up here, we have our Despia deck. Okay, I was wondering when we were going to see this. We are playing a rather extended Bysteel package here. We're playing double Magnet Hut, triple Saronir. That feels a little bit heavy, but I feel like at certain points that might end up being okay. We have triple good old Fallen of Albaz, 1 Blazing Cartesia, which is fine. We're playing the triple Fusion deployment. We're main decking the Expulsion here. Okay. But we're citing our Gimmick Puppet down in the side deck. Now, this side deck is pretty bonkers. Like, they don't want to deal with anything. They have the triple Book of Eclipse and the triple Crossout Designator down here as well. So anything, once again, that your opponent might be throwing at you that's going to inconvenience this deck, you have the answers to in the side deck. Also, the fact this deck is only playing 2 Ash is kind of interesting. And then more force on the triple Giant Space Rock. Yeah, this looks pretty standard, to be completely honest with you. I guess it's one of the things I like about this deck. And then next up here we have RIKKA, SUNAVALON. AKA play as many bricks as you can in the deck and then watch your deck actually play itself. Triple, man, they're actually playing triple the Sunseed Loki. I guess, like, through the way that this plan engine is lined up, you just want to make sure that you can see it so you can do its thing. I think the most interesting thing is we're actually side decking Polynosis down here, which means, once again, LOL, if your opponent attempts to do anything, you can laugh at them in Polynosis and then, you know, proceed to effectively start breaking their board. So, yeah, good stuff. So that is our breakdown for this regional. So what do you guys think? Please, comment down below, tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.